Allegra here, your resident brain science based time management and productivity expert who loves to talk about all the things that give you more time and energy in your life, including self care. And if you've been following me for a little while, then you know that I am about a fifth of the way through what I am calling the season of self care on my podcast because life is a lot right now. I feel like there are a lot of extra things on our plates in terms of staying informed and doing our part, calling our representatives using fivecalls.org. If you haven't heard me talk about it before, they give you scripts, they give you the numbers. It takes less than 2 minutes. I do it almost every day. And I feel like the gift I can give to the world is to remind you that you still need to take care of yourself because you can't give your energy to the many places that need attention if you're not first, as we like to say in the self care world, filling up your cup. And so I am leaning into self care for the next few months. I've been doing this today, will be the last episode of the 5 episodes that I've been doing on skincare, because you might not know that when you touch your face, you're actually releasing the same sort of brain chemicals that get released as when you get a hug from someone, which is why when I'm done with my AM and PM skincare rituals, I feel taken care of and loved. So, skincare might sound superficial, but it's actually a gateway to self care, in my opinion. Starting next week, I'm going to be talking about all things that you put inside your body. So, supplements, the foods I eat, the way I hydrate. Next week, I'm actually going to be doing my AM hydration ritual, which this is one part of it. This smoothie that looks like tomatillo salsa. And then after that, I'm going to talk about movement, which will also include fascia, which I think everyone should learn about because I think a lot of the aches and pains that we feel as we age are fascia related. Now, full disclosure, I'm not a medical professional, nor do I play one on the internet. So these are all things that have worked for me in my 5 decades on this planet and having dealt with very serious injuries like being bedridden because of an L5-S1 herniated disc, which that happened in my 30s. I was bedridden for months, and I now know that was a fascia thing. So I'm going to talk about movement and fascia. Then I'm going to talk about relationships, friendships, how they are self-care. And shoot, I had one more that now I am blanking on that I'm going to talk about after that, but I'm sure it'll come back to me and then I will mention it. So today I'm doing my PM skincare ritual for you to see, and it is 9:45 Pacific time where I am. So right now I already did my AM skincare ritual, so I'm going to have to take this off, which is really the beginning of the PM skincare ritual. And by the way, if you want to follow along the steps that I'm talking about, click this QR code, or if you're listening to the Harness the Power of Planning podcast, because this does go up wherever you get your podcast as the Harness the Power of Planning podcast. This will be episode 146, I believe. And so if you click the QR code or if you go to subscribepage.com/7 steps, then you can get the 7 steps for glowing skin that I am going to be talking about. So, like I like to do at the beginning of the show, I like to do some little intro things that I haven't been able to do as much because some of these topics have been really long, but I do want to mention that I saw something interesting in my demographics for the podcast, which I think I've mentioned I'm heard in like 90 something countries. I haven't counted recently, but at least 90. And recently the demographics have been changing in terms of which country is top. Well, the US is always top by a lot, but the top ones have actually been moving. For a long time, Brazil was my number 2 country. And I like to share facts about these places because many of them are places I've never been, and I always love learning about other places. So recently, Japan took over that number 2 spot. So I just want to share some interesting facts about Japan. Japan has the highest density of vending machines. They have one for every 32 people, almost 4 million vending machines. So I guess you can get a lot of different things on every street corner. Another interesting thing about Japan is that the country of Japan actually consists of over 14,000 islands. I had no idea. I thought maybe a couple dozen. 14,000. That's amazing. Here's a really nice thing. It's ranked 17th safest country globally. In fact, it's common to see people leaving their laptops, their handbags, etc., on the table when they go to use the restroom at a restaurant or a cafe, which I think that should just be standard. Really, wouldn't that be nice if we could experience that everywhere? And one other thing that I love about Japan that actually makes me want to travel there now is that the manhole covers or utility hole covers, in the ground, they're all beautiful works of art. Look this up. They look like enameled painting, like chinoiserie, like an enameled button or something. They look like enameled works of art, which I just feel like why it can't everything be beautiful? Everything should be beautiful. If you have to look at it, don't you want it to be beautiful? So thank you to those people from Japan. Next week I'm going to talk about Chile because again, there's been some movement in those top spots, and Chile has now entered the top 5 spots. So I want to do some facts about Chile. So welcome. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to start doing my PM skincare ritual now, which if you get the 7 steps, then you know that step 1 is cleanse. However, I only cleanse at night. This is something that I feel like as I've gotten older, I'm going to be 52 this year. I would say starting about 40, my skin just felt so dry. And I read somewhere that Salma Hayek actually believes you should only wash your skin at night because it's overly stripping of the natural oils. And also too, right, like your skin's not dirty. Like at night, you want to remove all the environmental dirt that has accumulated so that your skin can repair itself, right? That's the beauty about our bodies is that they can do a lot of repair work as long as they are clean. So the first step is to cleanse. And so I have these reusable, these are bamboo, what do you call them? Pads, I guess. Usually you say cotton pads, but they're not cotton, they're bamboo. So bamboo pads, by the way, if you are watching live, I can see all your little eyes up there. You can chat with me. And if there's a question that you have that I think is important for everyone to hear, I will answer it. And if you are listening to the recording, you can also ask questions. I do get to those. It just takes a little bit longer. So I take this bamboo swab and I'm going to wet it a little bit. And I usually only do this step when I'm wearing mascara, but I just wanted to show you all. So I wet it a little bit and I take just pure jojoba oil and I put a couple of drops on the pad because you need oil to remove oil. And like, for instance, right now, the only oily thing really that I have on here that you're going to be able to see is I do have sunscreen on. So you'll see that come off. But this really helps with mascara, with taking off so that I have a completely clean face. So I just wipe this on my face. And this is my first step of cleansing when I'm wearing eye makeup. And I do go all the way down to my neck. And be sure to get in the crevices where things get stuck. Okay, so you'll see it's got a little bit of a brown tint now from the sunscreen that I was wearing. And so I debated about what to show you. So last night, again, if you look at these 7 steps, you'll see that I frequently exfoliate with different types of, I do chemical exfoliation. I do mechanical exfoliation. Mechanical means like this scrub here, which has like granules that are rough. But last night I did an exfoliating mask that was chemical. So I'm not going to do this today because I feel like that would be too rough. So I switch off between using the chemical exfoliation a couple of days a week and doing the other types of exfoliation. So today I'm just going to use a really simple 100% pure. And again, if you click on here, you'll see the brands that I use. And I will also put it in the show notes when I put this up as the Harness the Power of Planning podcast. I'm going to use 100% pure, their argan oil creamy cleanser. And the most important thing as you're aging is to find cleansers that don't leave your skin stripped. I remember when I was young and my skin was so oily. I just like wanted to get all the oil off. We were like, strip your skin, strip it. And now I just want cleansers that are gonna leave me not feeling like my glass feel like my skin feels like broken glass. I don't know if you've ever had skin that dry, but before I came up with my skincare ritual, which was really like in my 40s, uh, my skin felt like broken glass. That's how I would describe it. It was so dry. Okay, so I'm just taking this washcloth and wetting my face, and I'm gonna use some of this argan oil cleanser, and you really don't need a lot, just a little dab. And put it on my face and neck. And then I take this little guy. This guy came as part of a set. Um, I think of like 4 or 5 or 6 heads. I really only use 3 of them regularly, you'll see. Uh, and this was I'll put it in the show notes. I think the company is called like Fascia Blaster, which by the way, I'm going to talk at great length about fascia in a few weeks, and this will be part of it because I'm such a fan of fascia work that I do a little bit from my head to my toe every single day. And so I just take this, it has these little like silicone fingers, nubs, and I use it to really just stimulate blood flow. Because again, your skin can do a lot of repairing if you're giving it the nutrients it needs. And where are those nutrients coming from? Well, some of them are coming from the things you put on your skin, but mostly it's coming from your blood. The things that you eat and stuff, the vitamins you take in, they come to your skin by blood flow. And you can get that blood flowing through exercise, right? When your face gets all red. And this is another way. So this is basically kind of like a form of massage. And you see my face turning red, which means it is bringing blood to all these areas. Okay. And then I will take this little guy, which is, you see, it's a harder material. And this is more of a fascia thing. And I will go in along these. There, if you think about like clenching your jaw and how tight that is and how tight these muscles are, all the chewing muscles. Um, I was an anthropology major in college, and I always thought it was fascinating how, how gorillas have that crest on their head? That crest is to allow these really strong jaw muscles that they have attach to something. That's what it attaches to. And so their muscles are just, always working. And these muscles get really tight, especially because not only do we use them for chewing, but some people just clench their jaw a lot when they're stressed. So what this does is it helps relax this fascia, which feels so good. I mean, it just literally just doing this feels good. Like I feel tension leaving my body. That's why I feel like skincare gets a bad rap. And this is probably part of why I didn't get into skincare until I was older, because I thought skincare was just about how I looked. And when I learned all the benefits, releasing the good brain chemicals that make you feel loved, reducing tension like this, that's when I got really into it. I'm having to wet this to activate the cleanser again because the cleanser is drying on my face. When I learned all these other benefits, that's what really got me into it. So the added benefit is that, guess what? You have less wrinkles, because a lot of the wrinkles we get in our face are from us clenching muscles that we just use a lot, like the 11s, right? We're always going, for those of you listening to the podcast, you're like, what did she just do? I'm squishing my forehead together to make those 11s. But a lot of it is just tight muscles. And so this just helps to release those muscles. So, okay, now I'm just going to wash off the cleanser. And I'm going to use 2 towels because I've been using this one for a lot of things. You see how red my face is from all of that stimulation with those fascia tools. So huge fan. Okay, one more. So as I mentioned, I'm always doing some sort of exfoliation. So since I didn't do the mechanical exfoliation today, I am going to do a chemical one. And what I'm going to do is use this toner here. And for those of you who are looking at the 7 steps sheet, the first few steps: cleanse, exfoliate, tone, masks. There's sometimes in that order, but depending on what kind of product you're using, there's going to be some bleed through between those, because like this product right here, toning is usually about helping to tighten the skin. And this product from The Ordinary, which is a great brand, and all the products I use, by the way, are eco-friendly, non-toxic, and the different price points. This brand is incredibly affordable, and you can actually find some of their products in like Sephora, but I like to just buy it online from. I do sometimes get it at Sephora if I need to, but they have a wider selection on their website. And so this is a toning, but this is also an exfoliating. This is a glycolic acid solution. And so this exfoliates and tones. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take another one of my bamboo pads and just swipe this on my face. And you don't rinse it off. You just swipe it on and leave it. And it is a little bit irritating. You can feel just like the slightest little, I guess, burn or itch. I think burn is too strong a word. Maybe itch. And you just want to get that all over your skin. I'm trying to find a place to put all these wet things. I guess they're going on the floor for now. Okay, so that is step cleansing, exfoliating, and toning for today. Probably tomorrow I will use this mechanical scrub. And when I do the mechanical scrub to exfoliate, I don't use this toner. Okay. On the days when I use this scrub, I will actually use this rose micellar cleanser water from 100% Pure. One of my tips for helping you develop a skincare ritual, which was, I think, episode 144, is to find scents that you like. Oh no, I forgot. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let me just do this really quick. This reminded me of scents. The first step of doing my skincare ritual is I light a candle. And it's a rose scented candle that has a wood wick. And I love it because it just like helps me. It's a signal to my brain, like, it's time to wind down. It's time to get ready for bed. Or in the morning, it's just a nice way to ease into my day. Like, it's time to start your day, but we're going to do it nicely. Okay, so I light this candle, and I'm not a big candle person. It actually took me a really long time to find a candle that I liked because I'm really sensitive to smells. But when I found this one, I just fell in love. And I will take my candle, and it makes a nice little crackling sound. I don't know if you can hear it. And I will say, thank you for the wonderful day that I had, for the warmth and safety of my home and my family's health, and help me to have the strength to be the person I need to be the change in the world. And whatever else I want to say, if there's any affirmations I want to say, and then I will put the candle down and I will start some music that I listen to, which I can't play it now, but I will put in the show notes the link to the music. The music I like to listen to is a combination of like gongs and rainfall and just kind of like tones, like it's not quite music, but I find it to be very relaxing. So I light the candle, I have the music going, then I do my ritual, which actually I guess this is exactly when I would do it, because these first steps, the cleansing and the toning, that happens in the bathroom, and then I move to my bedroom to do the rest of the steps. So actually this is when I would light the candle. But as I mentioned, find scents you like, and that will help you be more interested in doing your skincare ritual. So on days when I'm not using this toner, I'm using this one. Okay. And then my next step is a toning step, but it's a little bit different because it involves this wand. And in order to use, so this wand has 4 therapeutic modalities, as they like to say. You'll see it has a red light when I turn it on. It also buzzes. It also is a little bit warm. And I guess there's some sort of ultrasonic thing that it's doing. And all those things are supposed to help make your skin heal itself more and also to help the products penetrate. So I use this aloe vera based gel, and I'm not going to do it for the whole time because that would just take a long time, but I do it for a little over 3 minutes. And the reason I say 3 minutes is because after 3 minutes, it will pause and then I'll start again. So I aim to go for the pause and then I just finish whatever I need to finish after the pause. And the whole thing is I'm just going to show you right now. So I do the left side, I do my cheek and eye, I do my forehead, and then I come down, I do this side and this side. You want to avoid stimulating this area because of, I guess, your thyroid, or I just know that you're not supposed to push here like with gua sha or anything. So I just avoid this area. So I'm just going to start. You see when I turn this on, it turns red. And I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm just going to kind of show you how I use it. So I just kind of slowly go up and down. And, you know, like I said, I usually have my relaxing music going at this point. And so I just go all over, and I do the eye. And like if there's any areas where you are specifically concerned, I saw one person like spend a lot of time here when I was figuring out how to use this thing to lift here. And so you just go through and do your whole face. And it only takes me about 10 minutes to do all of the products. Sometimes I go slower just because I'm enjoying the process. So I don't think I've ever drawn out my skincare ritual longer than like 20 minutes. But you know, just kind of depends on how long I feel like doing this and how long I feel like using the fascia thing at the end. But I can get it done in 8 minutes if I'm in a hurry, or if I'm, you know, tired because I was out or whatever. Okay, so that's another toning step. And then the final toning step, and this toning step starts getting into moisture, is I use this 100% pure fermented rice toner, brightening. So it tones, which is again tightening skin, brightens, which helps with uneven skin tone, which is something that I deal with as someone who grew up in Los Angeles. Like maybe you can see now that I don't have my sunscreen on, you can see I do have some dark spots. You know, it's just part of growing up in LA, and this helps to counteract that. But the reason I really love this product is my skin feels so much more moisturized, and it's so light. You see it's water-based, and you always want to go from your lightest products to your heaviest products. So it's super light. It goes on super fast. And I've been using this product for, I feel like as long as it's been out, maybe 15 years, a long time. And you'll see I mix and match a lot of different brands because, you know, for me, it's not just about, I'm always trying to figure out like what's the best thing. That's just like how my brain works. For those of you who are familiar with Myers-Briggs, I'm an ENFJ, and one of the defining characteristics of us is that we like to figure out how to do things better and faster and more efficiently. So I'm always trying out new things, but this product is one of the products I've used the longest, about 15 years, and I love it. Okay, so toner that's starting to move into moisture. The next step with moisture is to also to nourish your skin, and that's with things called serums. So if you're not familiar, serums are something that have become very popular in the last, I don't know, 5 years maybe, and they're a step before you're adding your moisturizer. So these are all water-based products that have active ingredients to help with whatever issue you're interested in. So if you have, you know, dark circles, if you feel like your skin is saggy, if you feel like you have dark spots, if you have if you're acne prone, this is the spot where you would add serums. And I do 2 serums at night, maybe 3. Sorry, 3 serums, but I mixed 2 of them. So I kind of count it as 2. So the first thing is that I have these 2 serums from 100% pure, and I switch off. So one night a week is using the dark spot remover, and then the next night will be using the firming one. So I switch off between these 2. So every other day I switch. And this is something that I learned from the founder of 100% pure. She basically has 3 days in her skincare routine. She has the day when she focuses on hydrating her skin. She has the day when she focuses on brightening her skin. And then she has the day where she focuses on like nourishing her skin with vitamin antioxidants, and then it repeats, right? So hydrate, brighten, antioxidants. Just she just goes through that. And so I came up with my own. For a while I had it typed out. Now it's kind of more intuitive, and I don't have as many products as I did then. I just kind of switch back and forth between these. So I'm going to put on today, I'm going to put on the firming one. So there's this mushroom peptide from 100% pure firming serum. So again, it's a dollop. These are all very watery things, so they glide over really easily. And so just put that everywhere. And some of these are faster to dry than others. In between letting the products dry, I will often do some sort of either fascia or face yoga type thing. So like, strengthening muscles, like these muscles around the eyes. I will do this thing where I blink and hold the blink to strengthen the muscles. And this is supposed to actually help with eye sag, which my grandfather's eyes were so saggy that he had to have surgery to have this part of skin removed because he like couldn't lift his eyelids. So I'm hoping that between this little wand guy that I do there and by doing these exercises that I'd like to avoid surgery if possible. I want to continue to be able to lift my eyelid. He literally couldn't lift his eyelid. So, I do these exercises to help strengthen all these little muscles, just like you do things to help strengthen all the rest of your muscles in your body. Okay, so now that's dry. So then I do the second serum treatment, which vitamin C is a great antioxidant, also really good for brightening. I only use it at night because it does make you more sun sensitive. And I just don't want to have to worry about being more sun sensitive during the day in Southern California. So this is a powder. And you'll see that there's lots of products that have vitamin C mixed in. I've just heard that the powder is more stable. And so if you can get a powder, this one is True Botanicals, which is the higher end brand that I use. It just waits until you add a moisture to be activated. So, I just want my vitamin C to be as active as possible. So it's one of the places where I splurge. And you just put a little powder in your hand. This actually lasts a really long time, this bottle. And you see, I have a little powder. If you use too much vitamin C, you will get that kind of tingly burn that I mentioned with the toner. So I don't want it to burn. Just put a little bit. And then I use 2 serums from The Ordinary. This one is their growth factor serum, and it's super watery. So I apply it first because it really helps to melt the vitamin C powder. And then I add their hyaluronic acid serum, which is very hydrating and also has vitamin B5. And I will mix those two together and put that on. Of course, I'm going to have to undo all of this because it's still early in the morning and I don't want to be sun sensitive today. I'm going to have to apply skincare, my AM ritual again after I get off the podcast. But okay. And that absorbs really quickly. But, again, if I ever just want to, I just try and pay attention to my body. I'm a big believer that your body is always sending you messages and, whatever you feel like you need to work on. Sometimes I just feel like I need to open up my back and neck. So I'll do this in between. A lot of times I'll just take my knuckle and I will work on these muscles here, the ones that cause the 11s, because they do just get really tight. All the reading that we're doing all the time, it's not even necessarily frowning. A lot of times it's just like, wait, what am I looking at? So I will work on those muscles to help them relax, which, as I mentioned before, it feels like a massage, like you're undoing stress. It just feels so good. And I do not have an issue with headaches. So is that because of this? I don't know, but it's not an issue that I have. So I'm grateful for that. Okay. So those are all the serums. So now we move into moisturizer. Now I mentioned that I have these 2 serums I switch back and forth between. depending on which serum I use, determines which moisturizer I use. So on the days when I use the dark spot remover serum, I will follow it up with the Ordinary's azelaic azelaic acid. I guess I've never really said that word out loud, which is a brightening moisturizer. On the days when I use the firming serum, I will use the firming moisturizer. So I'm just going to put on a little firming moisturizer. And so this adds, a light layer of moisture to your skin. But I am a big believer in also using oils and even butters and waxes on my skin as I've aged. The one dry skin area I've always had is my lips. My lips have always been really dry. It actually, I can't, it's one of the reasons why I was introduced to eco-friendly skincare was because all of the traditional lipstick brands, they all left my mouth so dry. And it wasn't until I found the more gentle eco-friendly brands that I could even wear lipstick. So basically, for years, I just didn't wear lipstick. And the lip glosses, the lip balms that I used, they had to have beeswax in them. Without beeswax, my skin would be so dry. But like the beeswax helped keep the emollient stuff, the hydrating stuff, tacky enough and attached to my lips that it could actually do its work. And as you age, I find that's especially true that I need just moisturizers that have oils and even waxes in them so that they just stick to my skin until the hydration can do its job. So I'm going to start moving into the oils. The first oil that I use is a blend of my own. When I hear about like, oh, so this is a good ingredient, if it's not in something that I have, then I will try to find a way to introduce it. And this was my solution for an oil called Pycnool. Again, these will all be in the show notes. Pycnool and also turmeric. So turmeric's supposed to be really good for dark spots. So I added a little turmeric oil, some pycnool, and then rose hip, which is known to be great for skin. And I mix this up because it always separates. And oh, by the way, this is a fun little bottle I got because I like things to be fun to interact with, which is another tip for you in terms of creating your own skincare ritual. And don't feel pressured to do everything I'm doing all at once. I didn't develop this overnight. In fact, when I started with skincare, I basically had two products. I had a cleanser and I had a moisturizer slash, it was like a correcting moisturizer. That was it. And then as I started to see benefits and hear about other processes and chemicals, ingredients, it made me want to add things. So start small and build. That's the only way to create lasting change. It's called the Kaizen method. It's a Japanese philosophy, which is like if you can just start with doing one little thing, instead of doing a 90-minute yoga class, how about doing 2 minutes of stretching? And it might seem insignificantly small, but the nice thing about things that are insignificantly small is that your brain doesn't try and talk you out of it. Like, oh no, that's too hard. We don't have the time. We don't have the energy. That's the beauty of starting small. And then you grow from there. This ritual developed over, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years. And I still play with it. I'm still always changing things. Maybe someday I will stop, but also too, products get discontinued and I have to find something else. So, don't expect to get here overnight because it's kind of like New Year's resolutions where people are like, I'm going to change everything. And 2 weeks later, they're doing none of the things that they said they were going to do. So I'd prefer that you start small. Start with what speaks to you. If the candle speaks to you, do that. If the exfoliating speaks to you, do that. Find the thing that speaks to you and go with that. Okay, so that was my first oil. And I just kind of pat that in. By the way, one thing that will help you develop a skincare ritual is that you will find that some products do not play nice with each other. Like, I find this the most with the heavier creams. You'll see I don't really have a heavy cream here. This is the heaviest cream that I have, which is much more like a moisturizer. I mean, it actually doesn't even call it a moisturizer, it calls it a suspension. But, what I find is that with the heavier creams, when you put an oil on top of the cream, you start getting like this, it looks like dead skin, like when you're rolling dead skin off of you, almost like that, but it's just like the oil and the water in the cream are just, like, not interacting well, and you're basically, like, rolling the heavy cream off your skin by adding the oil. I don't know, but you will find that some things don't play nice together. It doesn't happen a lot, but it usually is with the creams, and so then I have to remove something, and just a tip for you as you're developing your ritual. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put on my eye cream. I'm not attached to this eye cream. I have a lot of sample eye creams that I've been curious about that I had received that I'm just kind of working my way through. I like it fine, but there's nothing that I love about it. Like, it doesn't have a scent I love. I don't feel like it gives me amazing results around my eyes or whatever. But this one is from a brand called Herbivore. It's called Supernova, and it has vitamin C and caffeine, so brightening eye cream. So it's very rich. So I just take a little bit on my ring finger and spread it around. And eye cream, especially if the skin around your eyes is an issue for you, the nice thing about eye cream is that they can be very expensive, but they can also last a really long time. So there's that trade-off. Okay. Then I have another custom oil, and this one is just, I think it's jojoba, marola. I don't know. I'll have to put it in the show notes, and argan mixed together, which are all supposed to just be, good oils for aging skin. And what I really like about the jojoba, I think it's well mixed. I don't know why I'm shaking it, but the nice thing about the jojoba is that it has really good what's called slip, which means that it's excellent for doing any sort of massage / fascia work. So I just put that everywhere. And darn. Okay, I'll have to show you anyway. And then I take this guy and I go back over those areas that you saw me doing when I was washing. But the jojoba has great slip, so you can really push hard without feeling like you're gonna tear your skin or tug at your skin. It just slips right over, and you can just really get in there and go a little bit harder than you were going before. Oh, that feels so good there. Okay. And so some people are into the gua sha. I don't know. The gua sha, I didn't feel like I was doing anything. So I'm not super into the gua sha. And I forgot one last thing. I forgot the eyebrow thing that I do. But you saw me do it in my AM ritual. It's just this little balm. I put it on my eyebrows and my eyelashes, and I definitely have seen a difference where I feel like my eyebrows are less patchy since using it. It's called the eye balm. I'll put it in the show notes. So here was the thing that I was saying. Oh no, I forgot. I was planning on not putting any oils on my face so I could show you how these frowny things work. But if I do my skincare early, like there's some days where because of when I exercise, I shower a little earlier in the day. And so I do my nighttime skincare, let's say around 7 p.m. so that when it comes to 9 p.m., the oils are fully absorbed. Like if I was doing this at 9 p.m., this whole ritual, I couldn't use these guys. So these guys are called frownies. They've been around for, God, I feel like close to 100 years. I'll put in the show notes. And basically it's like packing tape for your face. And by packing tape, I mean, if you've ever seen the paper tape that they use on boxes, I actually used to own a store for a long time. And we used to use these, and I love these tape machines because you use this little handle and then the tape slides over a sponge and it comes out all gummy, and it was just very satisfying. So, on nights when I have the time to do these, when my oils are all absorbed, I will use these on my 11s and on You can't see it well, I think, because my skin's shiny, but I do have a wrinkle here that used to be really, really deep. This wrinkle in my 30s was so deep, partially because I didn't exfoliate properly, partially because I didn't know about fascia, partially because I wasn't hydrating, I wasn't moisturizing properly. So for all those reasons, I had a really deep wrinkle here. It's hard, you can hardly see it now. And I used to have 11s. My 11s used to go up and meet this wrinkle. Like I felt like, I don't know, is there some science fiction character who looks like that? So these little guys, basically they're helping with the fascia, same, by just helping it to relax and stay in place at night. By, it's like holding it in place. And so you put them at night, you wear them until the next morning, and then you just wet them and take them off. And so what I use is I have this little bottle that's full of rose. It's just a rose hydrosol. And you spray the rose water. You can use regular water, but apparently rose water is a little more hydrating. So I spray the rose water onto these tape and then I put it on my forehead. And you have to figure out what shape works for you. So they're sold in these long strips, but you can see, I'm trying not to get oil on them, but you can cut them up into these triangles. And so what I do is I wet them and I put one right here, and it has to go from end to end on whatever wrinkle you're trying to work on. So it needs to basically cover my whole forehead. My husband calls me a Klingon on the nights when I use this. And so I put one right here, and then I put one on top of it like this. See, I wanted to show you, but it just won't stick to my skin right now. Oh, you know what? Hold on a second. I have an idea. Since I'm going to have to completely clean my face anyway, let me do this so you can see it. And I do this, I don't know, maybe twice a week. Let me use a little bit of this on there to help clean it off fully. You can use them more often, especially if you're, starting out and you have a lot of wrinkles that you're wanting to work on. But eventually you will get into what's called maintenance mode, which I feel is like where I am. I'm fine with my wrinkles that I have, but I don't want to overly tense those muscles, because I talked about this a little bit in the last episode, but in brain science, there's this saying, what fires together, wires together. Meaning, if you are using your speaking part of your brain and the movement part of your brain at the same time, you will help to wire those together. So like for public speaking, I do a lot of public speaking. I probably have a really strong connection between body language and speaking because I have to use it a lot. If you play tennis, you have a strong connection between whatever part of your brain activates your hitting hand and your eye, right? So you have hand-eye coordination. So the same thing is true with whatever you are doing that causes you to exercise these muscles. And for most of us, we exercise these muscles when we're frustrated, right? Like this, people will say, if these muscles are really activated, people will say, why are you frowning? Because usually it's a negative reason that we're exercising these muscles. They actually did a study that showed that people with really tight muscles here actually feel like they have a negative outlook on life more so than people who don't. And it's going back to this whole, if it fires together, it wires together, because your brain is used to making these muscles work. When you're unhappy, you actually become unhappy just because those muscles are activated. So that's a good reason to want to work on, keeping your face more relaxed, like the monks. That's why monks have such nice, smooth complexions, because they are not using their faces all the time with all of these negative emotions. Okay, so I'm going to take this and wet it with the rose, and you have to kind of set it aside for like a few seconds for the, oh no, I dropped it. Oh well, it's not like I'm going to have it on for a while. So you have to set it aside for the glue to become really active. Okay, and then I'm going to do the square, and then I need 2 more. So I need 1 square and 3 triangles for what I do every night. By the way, you can put frownies on other parts of your faces. If you go to their website, you'll see that there's some people who basically wear like a full face mask of these at night. I haven't gotten there. Come back in 10 years. Maybe I will be. Okay, so I'm going to start with that first one. I put it there in the middle, and then the square one goes right here. And then this one goes to the left. And then you kind of have to push just to make it mold as it's drying, to mold to your forehead. But you can already feel, like, right from the beginning how it just kind of stabilizes your face. And you just push it until it's really adhering to your skin and let it dry. And then in the morning, you just get it really wet and you can peel it right off. And voila, Klingon forehead, as my husband likes to say. And then I go to bed. And I grab my candle and I say thank you for this night. And by the way, this candle, one of the things I like about it is that it's coconut wax. And so when my skin feels really dry, I will dip in and get some of the warm wax and I will rub it on my hands because they can always use extra moisturizer. Thank you for joining me today. Now I have to undo the skincare and completely do my AM routine again. As I said, next week, I'm going to be starting a new module in a season of self-care. I'm going to talk about the things that I put in my body, supplements, the things that I eat, the things that I drink. And I'm starting next week with my AM hydration ritual. And this is such a big part of my morning. It helps me to feel taken care of and nourishes me really until, like, because of this smoothie right here, I rarely eat lunch before 1 p.m. because I'm just full from it. But we will go into that next week. And remember to like, subscribe, listen wherever you are watching. It helps me in the algorithm. And of course, it costs you nothing. And maybe I should just go take a nap and take advantage of this. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember to take care of yourself. If you can help someone else out, please do that. And know that planning makes everything easier.